Hello everyone, Social Coach Michael Knight here, and today what we're going to be talking about is the concept of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, where these fears come from, and how you can deal with them. And I feel that fear is a very timely topic, especially in this last year, where everyone has become more fearful. Fearful of going outside, fearful of meeting new people, fearful of saying something wrong and losing their jobs, fearful of the politicians, fearful of the extremists, fearful of the Russians, fear, you know. And part of these fears, some of them, okay, are justified to some extent, but I feel like the whole media and the whole governing structure is just kind of hyping the fears up more for their own benefit. And why is this? Well, there's always the situation, if it bleeds, it leads. It's always in the media's best interest to show the worst thing going on in the world in order to, you know, make money from that. But also, it kind of relates to the last video I made on social narratives. But let's switch away from these larger overarching fears and get back to the everyday fears that we all feel in our lives. The fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of embarrassment. Let's talk about where these fears come from and some tips on how to overcome them. A lot of the fears that we have are just leftover programming from our ancestors, back when they're out on the plains of Africa hunting and gathering. Because back in that time, it was very important to fit into your tribe, where the small tribe we had of 150 people, where everyone knew each other. And any type of action there that was a big mistake, I mean, it could cost you your life, or at least the ending of your genetic lineage, right? Because if you got ostracized from the tribe, you probably couldn't survive by yourself. You might starve to death. Or if you really blew it in front of all the women in the tribe and embarrassed yourself, well then maybe that would be the end of your genetic lineage. So back then there was a lot at stake. But in today's modern day society, these fears really aren't as applicable. You're not going to be ostracized enough from the tribe that you're going to die of starvation. The second place that some of these fears come from, such as worrying about what others will think, or if they'll laugh at your joke, or if it's good enough to say, these fears come from not feeling good enough inside to the point you need the external validation from other people, right? Because if you felt fulfilled enough just by yourself, you wouldn't need the constant feedback from other people to confirm this. All right, so now you're probably thinking, even so, with some of these fears that are probably irrational or I shouldn't really be feeling them, they still feel real to me. I can logically kind of believe that, but at the same time, I still feel the fear. And you know, that's what matters. That's going to be affecting my behaviors. So what should I do about that? So here are some tips of what you can do. The first tip is you're probably making a bigger deal out of some failure or embarrassing situation than it actually is. Here's an experiment for you to do. Think of some random acquaintance you know from school or something, or from university, from work. Now try to think of something really embarrassing that they did. Can you think of anything? Does anything just shoot to your mind? As hard of a time you have of thinking something embarrassing that they did in the past, that's going to be the same thing that you did. They're most likely not going to remember. So relax and realize whatever it is, especially in the long run, it's not as big a deal as it might seem to you in the current moment. Tip number 2 is recognizing that failing doesn't make you a failure. Whenever you're starting something new in life, if it's sports or an instrument or learning social skills, you got to be ready to fail in the beginning. You're not going to be an expert when you start. But as long as you're making progress and learning from mistakes and failures, well, that's the whole point. That's how you get better. The truth is, most people would rather look good on the road to mediocrity than risk looking stupid on the road to success. The third tip is to really evaluate the true risk and reward of taking an action. Now, I made a whole nother video, which I'll link to above, on asymmetric risk. And in this video, I talk about how Tim Ferriss, he defines risk as what are the chances of an irreversible outcome? That being, how much time and resources would it take you to get back to where you started? Now, when it comes to improving your social skills, and the risk is simply being willing to start a conversation with a stranger, to ask for someone's number, to ask them out on a date, to ask for a promotion at work, or something like that, the risk-reward structure is actually highly skewed in your favor. Because what's the worst-case scenario? Maybe you face just a little bit temporary embarrassment, and then that's it. What's the positive side? Oh, you get a promotion, you make more money, you find a person who becomes your partner for life. I mean, out of those one little action, the potential positive could be huge. It could be life-changing. And the potential negative of maybe just a little bit of embarrassment, or the person saying no, really has no lasting consequences in most cases. Tip number 4 is to learn to laugh at yourself and find humor in all situations. This was especially helpful for me when I was starting out, especially when I was going out and meeting new people, and sometimes, someone would completely blow you off when you try to start a conversation with them at a bar or something, where they literally just go like this and look away and won't even make eye contact with you, even if you're just being friendly. And these type of situations, I just found the whole thing humorous. A lot of times it's just they want to save face, or they're too shy themselves, and it's just a safer thing for them to do. So I never get angry, never get judgmental, never get hurt, but I would kind of smile and laugh at the whole situation. And actually I do this for two reasons. The first one was just to keep myself in a positive state. As much as your emotions can determine your actions also heavily influence your emotions, right? Let's say you felt the emotion of fear. Well, that emotion could then turn you into running, an action, to get away from what is scaring you. Or you can choose to go running one day and you get like a runner's high and you get positive emotions because you did it. So emotions and actions are actually very well linked, and it's not just one determines the other, they influence each other. So the first reason I did it was just to stay in a positive state. Me acting positive, staying positive, help me keep my brain in a positive state, and that's only going to help me more with future interactions, whoever they may be with. And the second reason is kind of like a little social hack, where anyone else who is watching an environment, they don't see a guy get rejected, they see a guy who seemingly walks away happier than when he approached, with a smile on his face. And this helps you kind of preserve some social proof in the environment. Tip number 5 is again related a little bit to tip number 1, and that's just remember to keep perspective on everything. There's a small perspective of, yeah, I'll probably never see these people again. It's not a real big deal. There's no real lasting consequences. But even zoom out from there. Look at the perspective of everything. Here we are, a bunch of apes that walk upright. We're on this little ball flying through the universe. The universe is eventually going to expand and cool down and turn into a wasteland. And in some ways, just kind of embrace the absurdism of it all. That really, in the big picture, it's not a big deal. So you might as well go through life and not take everything so seriously. Tip number 6 is to embrace the fear and don't try to hide from it. Don't try to fight the fear or repress it. Just recognize it, accept it, tell yourself, yes, I feel nervous, but that is okay. Our fears are often pointing the way forward to our future success. So it's good to actually go in that direction. Think of that time where you really had that assignment for work or school and you really didn't want to do it, and you kept putting it off, and you'd even clean your house and do all these other odd errands just for a reason to feel like you're being productive instead of doing that one thing that you really know you should be doing. And in this case, it's similar. That one thing you fear the most, the thing that's really making you uncomfortable, that's probably the direction that you should go. Because deep down inside, you know that's what you should be doing. And that's going to lead you on the path towards better things. The final tip that I'm going to leave you with is to use fear to your advantage. And this is something that I've done a lot throughout my own life. Starting back when I left the United States initially and moved to Germany, and everyone's like, oh, aren't you afraid to go somewhere alone where you don't know anyone and you don't know the language? Aren't you afraid of this? And then later, and when improving my dating, oh, aren't you afraid of getting rejected? Or later when building my own business, aren't you afraid of failing? And all these times, the answer was yes, of course, I was afraid of all those things. But there was one bigger fear in the back of my mind that pushed me through all that. And that was the fear of, what if I don't do this? What will my life look like if I don't take action now and start moving in the direction that I want ahead? And that fear was so much bigger than all those smaller fears. Yeah, those other fears, yeah, they're right in front of me. I could see myself failing tomorrow or for my next action. But I knew the long-term pain and the long-term results of me not taking action would be much worse. So with that in mind, if you're interested in improving your social skills, specifically when it comes to attraction and dating, then I recommend you check out my book, which is linked to in the description below. In my book, I go over all the behaviors that if you correct, you'll instantly start seeing better results. And for those of you who are super serious about getting this area of their life handled, I also provide one-on-one coaching, and an application for that can also be found in the description below. As always, please like and subscribe, since that would be doing me a huge favor when it comes to helping me build this channel. And also please consider becoming a Patreon subscriber, not only to support my work, but you'll also get access to the Enhanced EQ online video course that I created. That's all for today. Until next time, ciao.